Thank you very much. Very warm welcome from my side. My name is Maria Leenen. Normally, in my role as a strategic advisor of the railway business, I'm in charge with answers. I'm asked a lot of things. And today I have the nice position as moderator, and I can put the questions to my very experienced speakers floor. And so I would like to ask the speakers to come up. First, Herr Dr. Kapsch, please come. He is, as you already hear from his name, he is the CEO of Kapsch Career. Come. Second, I would you please first take a seat here? Second, Mr. Francis Bedel. He is a CDO of UIC, expert of this round. Mr. Ralf-Charley Schultze, chairman of UIRR, Intermodal. Mr. Evgeny Charkin, he is the director of information technologies of RGD and also deputy CEO. Nice to see you. Please take a seat. And Mr. Harald, Jony, CEO of WienCont container terminal company. And unfortunately, Mr. Alexander Glaska has to, he's ill and he cannot join our conference. So, our discussion topic today is, in this session, is digitalization, digital transport and intelligent infrastructure, digitalization, standardization and scaling. And I would like, of course, I have to ask the question, but I would like to give you a very short introduction into that issue. So perhaps we can have the slide. You can give me the second slide. No, you can't? Okay. No? Okay, then I try to give you, there it is, there it is. Okay. Please go to page 3. I would like to introduce a little bit the scope of our discussion. SCI, as I said before, is a consultancy company for logistics and especially railways in the whole world. And here we are talking about the key topics of digitalization and automatization. These words are, and we will hear them later on, open data platforms, blockchain, big data, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, and so on. And as you see on the photo in the middle, we are talking still about railways. And railways are, especially in the freight sector, mechanical. We have so many manual processes. We are talking about big data, but on a typical freight wagon we have no power and we have no data on the freight wagon, and we have very, very limited opportunities. So on the other hand, we see that, for example, a freight wagon has a very long economical life. We talk about 40 years, 50 years sometimes. The average in Europe is 23 years. So the migration process of digitalization will be huge. And that's, of course, a challenge. So the position in the first thesis is the railway has to catch up. The railway really has to catch up to be online with the whole economic needs and efforts to meet digitalization. Second page, we have a strong and we need a strong railway freight transport as a crucial, other direction please. Can I do it here? Okay. There is a strong need for railway freight transport to tackle the climatic and transport challenges successfully. You know, the politics, the differentiation in politics is needed. We need a climatic change. We need a reduction of carbon. We need another politics in on the roads and in the growing cities. And we are talking about e-mobility, and best of e-mobility and the best improvement for carbon footprint is still in transport railways, because as you can see on the graph in the middle, railways are more than, in Western Europe, more than 60% e-mobility, and on the main lines it is much more than 80% e-mobility. So the railway is forced to be the backbone of the transport network, should be, must be the backbone of the transport. And a combination of innovations regarding the railway vehicles, infrastructure, the processes and so on are needed as the digitalization in railway business, like all the automatic guided vehicles, our automatic train operation, driverless trains. But we have also very specific challenges like ETCS, like automatic digital coupling, like track and trace options, like real-time information, like digitalized cockpits and so on. So we have really a lot of homework on, I guess, and I guess that we will hear a lot about these homeworks later on. But, and this is more the discussion of the session before, but I want to focus it here. We need large investments for the railway to fulfill the requirements we talked about, to be the backbone. And if railways want to be the backbone, they have to deal with a lot of very expensive investments within the next years. And it's very clear and very significant that railway operators in general in Western Europe do not earn much money, if they earn money. But if they earn money, they do not earn much money. LGD is better, of course. But we need unbelievable money for the digitalization of railway business. Even ETCS costs in Western Europe, in the center of Europe, between 40 and 50 billion euro. The automatic coupling system, digital coupling system, costs 10 to 15 billion euros. And all the other things as well. So it's not a question of what we have to do, but it's also a question how we can deal with this great efforts about the investments. And our ideas, and I think this is what we have to discuss, there are efforts needed from all stakeholders all over the line, and we have these stakeholders here in this discussion. And so I would like to hear now the ideas of and the solutions of the different speakers here. I would like Mr. Kapsch first with your speech. I think here in Austria, I do not have to introduce you anymore. He's one of the masterminds of telematics in the railway and in the public and the transport business. And I'm very curious to hear your ideas about how suppliers and a supplier like Kapsch can help the freight operators to catch up with road transport. I'm sure you have many ideas about that.
Well, we have many ideas, that's for sure, but 5 minutes is not enough to talk about all these ideas. But thank you very much, first of all, for the introduction. And I have to say, it's a pity. I heard in the morning this big hall was full, and now just 50% of the chairs are covered by visitors here. Although we are touching, I think, the most interesting topic of these days, digitalization, in our session here. So, welcome to session number 3, to the digitalization for the railways. So, you know, there are thousands of articles about digitalization, and some of them also refer to the digitalization in the railways environment. They talk about deep learning, artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, and all these very, very famous vocabularies. And they all promise an increase of the capacity and the reliability and the productivity of the railway network. So they promise a decrease of the operational costs, a decrease of the costs to run the infrastructure and as well as the rolling stock. And from my point of view, that's valid, that's true. So these benefits are definitely the reason for the digitalization. But when we talk about digitalization for the railways, we also have to uncover some hidden challenges. And about them, I would like to talk a little bit later on. To move the railways into a digitalized world, that's not so easy. Not because of the behavior of the railways or not because they would not be innovative. They are innovative, by the way. But the problem is they are operating all a mission-critical infrastructure, a mission-critical network with highest demands on reliability and especially safety. And please don't let us forget about the security. Also, the demands concerning security are very, very high for the railways. So some of the European railways already have started to go the path of digitalization. From my experience, it's first of all Network Rail, it's SNCF, it's Deutsche Bahn, also the Austrian railways have started to go this way. So, and some of them are doing that also together with our group of companies, especially with Kapsch Carrier.com, which are covering the railway business in the Kapsch group. So our company has designed a so-called CUBE, the Railway Dedicated Edge Computing System, and it's the realization from our point of view of the IoT story for the railways. So what is the CUBE doing? It allows to optimize the railway efficiency. It allows to facilitate asset management for railways. It enables timely decision making, enables smart predictive maintenance, by the way, the real topic for the whole story of digitalization, and it's opening the railways, the world, to the app developer community. Also a very, very important thing. So the edge computer called CUBE handles the data, where the data starts to occur, where they are censored, and the data is brought by a safe and secure way to the back office of the system. So, and with that, the railways can run a much smarter infrastructure than they can do today. So the CUBE supports use cases along the whole story of the railways. If you look at the infrastructure, if you look at bridges, if you look at tunnels, if you look at the shunting yards, if you look at the railway stations, and even if you look at the rolling stock, you can use this technology everywhere. So, and now, as I have mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I would like to come back a little bit for the last 2 minutes to the challenges when the railways want to start with digitalization. So, and one thing is for sure, the railways need a new mobile broadband solution to be able to transfer the data. So because of that, some European programs have been started already. One is the program of Shift to Rail. We are also participating there as Kapsch. We are driving the definition of the next generation, of the next mobile generation. It's called Future Railway Mobile Communication Solutions, so it's called FRMCS, and we are defining that in the Shift to Rail program with several authorities in the railway environment. This new technology will be based on 5G, and I think that's self-explaining. So FRMCS will, however, not be just a simple replacement of the existing communication networks, of the existing mobile communication networks, for example, like GSMR. It will be the broadband connectivity for the railways as such, and it will be, because of that, the fundamental base for digitalization. And in general, broadband communication has always enabled smartphone penetration, brought massive value to the mobile phones in general. And this will happen also in the railway environment if we implement FRMCS. But together with FRMCS, we have two challenges. And one challenge is about cybersecurity. Nowadays, if we look at signaling, even if we look at communications, railways are still using proprietary hardware. New technology means hardware is not so important anymore. We are talking about software. We are talking about using IP everywhere. We are talking about cloud environment. We are talking about virtualization. And that ends up in a tremendous risk of cybersecurity. So I think most of the railways are aware of that. And they already have started also to do something against cybersecurity attacks. But from my point of view, from my experience, not all necessary steps have been done up to now. So when we talk about necessary investments, one big portion will also be investment in a cybersecurity environment to enable digitalization. The other story is, the other challenge is about the frequencies. So nowadays, the railways own about 7 megahertz of frequencies in the 900 megahertz range, frequency range. And this will reduce in the future because of the needs of the public operators. So instead of increasing the capacity of frequencies, it will be reduced from 7 down to 5.6 megahertz. So, and that's not enough for broadband communications, and therefore the railways are obliged to force the European unions to get additional frequencies. Again, also here, some railway organizations already have the awareness, but not every railway organization. And here I really would like to do a call also in this session to all of you to go for these frequencies. You will need them in the future. The situation is that the Radio Spectrum Committee in the European Commission knows about that. They already started to look for additional frequencies, but from my point of view, they still need additional pressure to do that. So to summarize, I think digitalization, that's a thing that's clear. It will also come to the railway environment, and some of the railway organizations already have started to go this path. To be able to do that, you need to do investments in cybersecurity activities and also in the future in a new mobile broadband system, and for that you need frequencies. But for sure it's the right way, and no doubt that we have to go this path. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kapsch. It was very helpful to get this view on it and your warning words that I hear. Our next speaker is Francis Bedel. Francis is a specialist in both railways, and digital affairs as well. And he came from the railway business, as far as understood, from SNCF, and managed, among a lot of other jobs, as a freight in the freight stations. And beginning in 1990, you started already with digital question. So you are really a railway digital native. Can I call you like that? So perhaps you can give us some aspects of the current situation at UIC and UIC digital platform and their main projects, and also the question about cybersecurity, because we heard a lot about that, and as you told me before, this is a very important thing, and we have to be focused on that. So it's your floor. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you very much, Maria, for this interaction and these open questions. First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to be able to deliver our inputs from UIC Digital Platform, our project activities, our mission, our vision on digital issues. First of all, just a reminder of contextual context, contextual status, and a few figures you have to keep in mind to understand what is the challenge for this century, 21st century. Challenge is mobility. We have to consider that the first point is a demographic issue. The latest forecast mentioned that 41 megacities will be in the world within the next 10 years. That means tomorrow. It's quite close future. It's not a long term. We have to be aware that since the 70s, there was only 30% of the global population, world population, that lived in cities. A couple of years ago, in 2014, it was 54%. By 2050, it will be 66% of the worldwide population that will live in cities. That means that will increase the need for mobility. Mobility for passengers, mobility for persons, mobility for goods, because since everybody is concentrated in megacities, we have to ensure the mobility for this population. On this map, I'm not so sure you can have a clear understanding of the figures and the points. It just shows the repartition of the megacity in the world and show the potentiality of the growth of these megacities in next 10 years. And we'll see that megacities are either appearing or growing very rapidly. It's a dramatic increase of megacities all over the world, in Asia, in Africa, in South Africa, and already existing megacities that we already perfectly know, which are still growing. A funny map, a funny picture. I love it because it brings us back in the past and might remind you some of the maps that we used to see in the classroom some decades ago, that shows the world and traveling time we had just before the First World War. Just to know that in one century ago, to travel from center of Europe, to travel from London, and to cover only Europe, we needed, just two figures to remember, we needed to do it just in Europe, we needed 5 days traveling to cover Europe from London. And to go from all over the world in the farthest country, farthest places, it took over 40 days, only 1 century ago. Today, same map, same country, and just to notice today what's required 5 days traveling, today needs less than half a day. Half a day instead of 5 days 1 century ago. And to go anywhere in the world, the farthest place, it takes at the worst 1.5 days instead of 40 days. So considering these 2 points, that means the increasing of demography, increasing growth of megacities, and this need to move quicker and quicker, faster and faster for goods and passengers, we need to face a new challenge, that's mobility. And mobility can be answered only through a chain mobility, a chain of mobility, and in UIC we believe that backbone of that chain of mobility is rail. and has to be rail and will be the rail. That's our challenge. So if we want to face that challenge of mobility and hope and support the rail development to enable passengers freight to travel all over the world and to cover the needs of that mobility, digital has to be considered as a leverage. It's a means that help us to face that challenge and to win tomorrow. And why digital? Because digital is new. Even if started, and Mario mentioned I was a railway digital man and started some in the 80s, that's a long time ago already. But digital is new in its new forms. What's digital? Digital, if you want to illustrate, is that kind of device you've got in the pocket, and it's an easy mean to provide and to access information for anybody in the world. Digital has created 90% of the data in the past 3 years. Very recent, 90%, and we have to cover that need. It's a demand on, for real-time information. Real-time information applies either to passengers, travelers, or to goods. If you're freight customers, you definitely want to know where is your good, where is your wagon, where is your container, whatever in the world on real time. You need that information, and everybody is very keen on having that information on real time. When you're traveling, you're a passenger in the train, you need to have reactivity and real-time information about your journey and status of your journey. We need to face as well a customer upgrade experience. They are more and more exigeant. They need more and more things. They need more and more information. And the only way to be reactive, facing that demand, can be met via digital. We need connectivity. Connectivity is one of the C that was mentioned by Jean-Pierre Lubineau this morning. And connectivity is the key to ensure that people are connected all over the world and can meet the needs they have to face with. They want to be connected, they want to get information, they want to be, wherever in the world they are, need to be connected via the digital, and digital can help to support that. And first, and then last but not least, there are two pillars on which a rail sector has built its reliability and its existence, is safety and security. And these 2 points, which are placed at the very end of that list, should be at the first position. We need to be safer and safer. We need to take care about security. And when you talk about digital, we have, of course, to keep in mind cybersecurity, which has to be at the top of the list. But I will come back a bit later on this issue. Digital implies a lot of new things. It's a new way of thinking. It's a new way of doing business. It's a new way of working. New ways of doing things to make things faster and faster, easier and easier. And of course, new partners should be involved in that process. The new partners I want to mention of course, what we call digital ecosystems, made of university and startups. And the partnership with these new partners, these new actors, is very important because it helps us to better understand the need for digital and to implement a new way of working together faster based on iterations, iterative work, and to be able to provide some solutions on short terms, because we cannot afford working on projects that may last couple of years, 5, 6 years, as it was the case in a couple of years ago. We have to work on very easy solution, easy to implement, rapid solution, iterative, and that can be done with the new partners we have to work with, startups and universities. So we have to think about this new solution and to implement it. So let's come to practical things. And let's come to UIC focus on regarding digital issues. Digital platform, UIC digital platform activities is working a lot today, and within the UIC we are putting a lot of energy on the coordination of something which has been mentioned by the previous speaker, FRMCS. We are working on FRMCS and cybersecurity issue with the support of members from all over the world. And that's one of our major projects today, that coordination of FRMCS issue, because telecommunication is important. It has to be linked to signaling as well. It's one couple to be handled in one, telecommunication, signaling, and cybersecurity already mentioned. Linking that to the way to do it, is we have to focus how to go from a revolution, a digital revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, which is digital, to evolution, how to support our members to go from A to the target who are willing to implement with thanks to digital. And to do that, it's not a revolution which breaks everything at once. It's just an evolution to accompany our members, to go on with them and to preserve what has been done in the future, just to arrive smoothly and safely to the target which has been agreed and defined together. That's what we call evolution, that's what we call scalability, and that's part of our missions. We have to focus, and we focus within UIC, on harmonization. Harmonization is a key core business of UIC, and will be detailed tomorrow by my colleague and friend Simon Fletcher, where we talk about standardization. We have to focus on shared visions, because UIC, because of its global position and have a global view all around the world regarding the rail sector, we have to focus on shared visions and try to make the best of it and to ensure that the vision on digitals is commonly shared wherever it is in Asia, in Europe, in North America, in Africa, and to ensure through UIC, via UIC, on top UIC, to have that vision, these visions shared together and to make the best of it. Of course, major trends are well known by all of you, and all of these major digital trends apply to rail. I mentioned Internet of Things, I mentioned big data, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and we have to deal with all these major trends because all these can be applied to the rail. Cybersecurity, I want to focus one more time on cybersecurity. I mentioned it was the key for rail. We have to be careful on that. Digital is a wonderful thing. It can bring new opportunities, new issues, new possibilities. But there is a danger. Cybersecurity is a real position we have to take care of. Cyber is first a question of awareness. We have to be aware of the danger. We have to be aware of the threats which are behind cybersecurity. And I think the major step we have to take regarding cybersecurity is to have cybersecurity from design. It cannot be no longer considered as a layer on top of a project. It has to be included from very beginning of a project. When we initiate a digital project, an IT project, cybersecurity has to be considered from the very beginning by design. And I think it's one of the key taking care of cyber. When we talk about UIC digital platform and even more general regarding UIC, we are working around three main principles: share, open, connect. Share, I mentioned that, share the visions, share the progress, share the initiatives, share the best practices, and we do that through different events we're organizing around the world and focused on the major digital trends. Open, we make it on a new way of working together, design what we call POC, proof of concept. We've made, from the very beginning of the creation of a UIC digital platform, we've initiated that way of working, to initiate a rapid, interactive, and constructive, concrete way to deliver potentialities to the members. That means to start from a concept, to initiate with the support of members first, startups, an initiative approach to be able to deliver within a few months with as low budget as possible, just a demonstrator to show that things are possible. We've made it with a POC, technical POC regarding, for instance, the detection of shunting defaults, which is something we have to face with regarding rail. We made it with the broken rail, detection of broken rail. We've made it last year on the DIGIM project, DIGIM program, implementing a POC in Canada with the support of Canadian Rail, via Rail, and to help to define, to design a way to help to support visually impaired travelers in the station, by the way, autonomously and safely. It was a POC called Clear Station. It worked. We made it in a couple of months. It's been tested, implemented in Ottawa Station, Ottawa in Canada. It's working. It's no longer a POC. It's a pilot. It's just about to be implemented in other countries, in other rail companies, and just make it work to support the development of rail. Another one is to work on the connection, digital level crossing. Level crossing is a problem which is currently known by rail, and how to improve, to enhance security at level crossing thanks to digital. And it leads to the DGIM2. DGIM2 is a second part of the program that was initiated 1 year ago. Thanks to the success of the first part, we've decided, members, UIC General Assembly decided to pursue in that way and to go on with the POC initiative and to implement that. And we decided to start that digital program with a new phase to support level crossing security and to interconnect level crossing with the automotives, how to make interaction between level crossing and cars, automotives, and to make level crossing connected, really connected, digitally connected. And that's something we're just about to start. We're just in the phase of launching that program, and we rely on all of you, on as many as possible partners, members, UIC members, to support us and to be open to take part in that initiative with their expertise, with know-how, with an in-kind participation. Second point, second project I would like to underline, to stress now before as a conclusion, is blockchain. A bit long, I'm sorry. Blockchain is something which is well known. With everybody's talking about blockchain. A couple of years ago, it was confidential. Now everybody is talking about blockchain. We designed a POC which was presented in last June during the Global Freight Rail Conference in Genoa, and it was the starting point from blockchain initiative within UIC. How to ensure the transfer of transport documents through a blockchain, to have it safely, to have it cost-effective, to save money, and to ensure the transportation of the documents from end to end on large freight corridors. It's a huge project, important project, which just willing, after the POC which had been introduced a couple of months ago, to run and to launch a pilot now, a demonstrator. And we need UIC members, of course, to make it happen, and to show that through long distance freight corridors, it makes sense to have that pilot, and to show, to demonstrate we are on the right way. So I've been a bit long, I apologize for that, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Francis. I have so many questions, but we will do it later, then we run out of time. So I would like to hear from Ralf-Charley Schultze. He is the chairman and the general director of the intermodal UIRR. And he's also a railway man, but also a logistics man. And he has a lot to do in these days, as we all have, with digital processes. So perhaps you can explain a little bit about the differentiation between digitation and digitalization. But this is just the beginning. And later you can explain a little bit about your plans of your association, of your next steps, and the huge challenges in this business to deal with road and rail together.
I will do my very best. Thank you very much. My name is Ralf-Charley Schultze. As she said, I'm the president of UIRR, and we are the industry association for combined transport in Europe. Combined transport always means that our approach is a horizontal one, is a transversal one, that we are looking at a supply chain as a transport and logistics chain using different modes of transport, and of course trying to integrate railway as one of the modes into the logistics chain. From digitization to digitalization, well, digitalization is more than only paperless, than making digital a lot of documents. It's much more, and this is what I would like to explain to you. Only one word about the galaxy in which we are moving as UIRR. In the middle of the supply chain, you have the operators of combined transport. Those are the operators taking the risk of utilization of the trains. They are buying full trains from railway undertakings. Behind you still have a supplier, the infrastructure managers. And on the other hand, you have the logistics service providers to whom they are selling slots of the block trains. And we have as our members not only the city operators, but also the terminal operators, so the WienCont likes, who are operating or owning their terminals. And these terminals are extremely important as interface in the chain. And unfortunately, still today, very often, in terms of information, the terminals are only learning when the train is arriving, when they're looking out of the window. And this is one of the issues I want to tackle today with you. Within the galaxy, you see on the left-hand side our partners. We created a technology platform with the construction companies of wagons and with the construction companies of intermodal loading units, such as containers, swap bodies, and semi-trailers. Why did we do this? Because if they don't talk together, if the intermodal loading units are not compatible with the wagons, and the wagons are not compatible with the profile gauge, then no train will run at the end of the day. You have the European institutions also on the left-hand side. You have our partners in the member states, because it's always important when you work from Brussels that you have your corresponding partners in the member states. And of course, you have our peers in Brussels. I will give some general input on digitalization to start with, and then I will give you 4 very concrete examples. So what are the selected key drivers for combined transport digitalization? There are a lot of new entrants, and they increase logistics footprint, like Amazon. They are the customers, the C, which mentioned Jean-Pierre Louis-Nou this morning. They are the one, by the way, who pay the bill. It's the customers at the end of the day. And they expect a very high reliability and, of course, a valid information. They expect an estimated time of arrival. They want a smooth booking, etc. But you also have roles for the regulators. Not everything has to be regulated. But here we see that European regulators try to be positive, to influence positively the digitalization through tough TSI, for example, to electronic freight transport information between the business and the authorities and the digital market. So there's a working group within the European Commission dedicated to digitalization and transport. Of course, we need improved communication and information richness. We were talking this morning already about 5G, about IoT, and the shippers used advanced software to perform the 3PL tasks. So in all this context, you can ask yourself, what is the role of digitalization? Is it more a pain or an opportunity for combined transport players? The answer is clear, it's an opportunity. But digitalization impact can be extremely wide. We don't have to forget we are here in a full mental shift. As I said, it's not only about digitalization, it is about change management. The whole environment has changed. And the digitalization is considered to be the process of increasing the use of digital technologies and processes to transform the company and the other stakeholders through new value, adding activities to achieve better efficiency and higher profitability, as mentioned earlier by Mr. Kapsch. The shipper performs logistics tasks. And here is where the pressure comes from. The shippers increasingly steer the logistics operation directly or via 4PLs to increase transparency, control, and to reduce costs and, of course, the transit time. So to have a better quality at the end of the day. You see here the whole chain of logistics. And you need alternative paths, and these alternative paths require alignment. So we try to analyze in our digital roadmap for combined transport different scenarios. One scenario would be the total freedom. So there's no concerted action with the maximum freedom between the players, or you have a common standard. So you start thinking about definition of standards and about a loose coupling of each actor. At the end, as another scenario, you could have a platform approach for the central tasks. Of course, don't forget we are here in a highly competitive environment. So 1, 2, 3 of my members at least think still today that intransparency is part of their business model. And this doesn't fit with digitalization. So we have to learn sharing what is possible to share and keeping the commercial side apart. Of course, under the roof of safety and security, you should share everything. There still are, of course, because you have a lot of competitors around the table, a lot of negative thoughts about it, but we have to try to be more cooperative, to be more collaborative. Now I would like to come to the 4 concrete examples. One example is the ILU code. ILU stands for Intermodal Loading Unit, and we started some years ago with a standard, a CEN standard, so a European norm, to have a common standard in Europe for all the intermodal loading units to be marked like the international ISO standard big code for the containers. Because we said if they are compatible, you have the basis for digitalization and you try to speak the same language. We try even to make this standard not only voluntary, but mandatory. And in the modernized EU Customs Code, it is made mandatory for all the companies, all the countries within the customs union. In the Directive on Combined Transport, the revised directive, we tried to put also a mandatory ILU code in it as a standard for all kind of intermodal units, be it craneable units or not craneable units. And even the tough TSI requirements, where there is a revision for the moment being, for track and tracing, for booking, for the consignment note, would be extremely useful. Another example of digitalization is a register. There's a directive on the rail service facilities, and the rail service facilities are not only rail freight terminals, it's also fueling stations, maintenance stations, storage areas, even passenger stations. And it is law now. There is a regulation from Europe that all these rail service facilities have to be made transparent to the users. So how to do it? And the ideal would be to have a common portal where you can find, as user, on one surface, all these service facilities. This is something we're working in a consortium with some other partners, but we think that this could really boost transparency in a positive way. We have also digital integration and data access, mainly the real-time information. Real-time information about trains, about wagons, about goods, and loading units are a key success factor. At the end of the day, the shipper wants to know where his pallet is. And of course, if you look at through the whole chain, a real-time information is needed. But when we started a project based on the sector statement group of declaration of 2016 and the ministerial declaration accompanying it, we really understood that there's no definition of estimated time of arrival. We understood that the expectations are completely different from one player to the next one in the chain. And that's why if you look here at this picture, you see how complex the whole chain is when you start integrating different modes of transport. Of course, the railway undertakings gets the information from the infrastructure manager. But the railway undertaking will not give this information one-to-one to the next, to the terminal operator or to the CT operator, because the contractual situation is a bit complicated sometimes. And of course, this process ends under the crane in the last terminal. And then comes the logistics service provider, the transport company, with his truckers who wants to pick up the container. But if they do not know when the train arrives, it's difficult. So here ETA information and computation could be a solution, and in this project we tried also to make use of artificial intelligence based on historical data. We will have a first demonstrator by end of June, and we'll see what the outcome will be. But what we try to do is really to put into one platform all the information we have, be it from GPS, from RNE, from the infrastructure managers, or from the railway undertakings. Last but not least, the fourth example is a customer interface. A customer interface meaning that the customer can book his orders directly on a platform. And you see here some status information like booked, delivered in departure terminal, loaded on wagon, departed from departure terminal. This is already existing today. We started 15 years ago with this development, and I think now it will be opened for all CT operators, and this also can boost I think the productivity and the efficiency of the chains. Here also we will need a common standard, a common interface for the communication between the players. Conclusion: digitization means a mental and cultural shift. We need this out-of-the-box thinking. And the data sharing, what we call data democracy, real-time data available for all involved freight players, is extremely important. It has to be free of charge and without restrictions, without any filtering. This is a prerequisite, and as I said, at the end of the day, the customer will have to pay the bill. We need to implement interoperable systems and standards to integrate all freight players into the logistics chain. We need access to European-wide reference files, so we don't need only a register like for the rail service facilities. We also will need a register for the intermodal loading units, a register for the wagons, and of course a good register of the infrastructure of the different profile gauges. And at the end, last but not least, we need a custom information. Today we focus on estimated time of arrival, on the pickup time, and a smooth B2B integration. The crucial thing is always, at the end, even though we are in a severe competition, cooperation, cooperation, and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very broad view into the intermodal challenges of digitalization, and we decided to hear now, it fits better, the view of a terminal operator, and Harald Jony is now head and CEO of WienCont Containergesellschaft, and he is responsible for operations and sale. And his company is a private company, and he has to deal with most of all these questions we are already talking about. But now we are talking from a different view. We are not talking from the railway view, we are talking from the, I would say, from the client's view. You have to manage the client's demands, and you have to deal with these different problems in the scale you talked about. So perhaps you can give us a view into your wishes, your projects, your ideas, and how we all can manage it together.
Okay. Thank you for this introduction. My name is Harald Jony. I'm the CEO from WienCont. WienCont is one of the largest tri-modal terminals in Austria. I'm not here today to show you what we have done, because it's very easy to make new technologies on a terminal, because put some cameras in the terminal and you know everything about containers. That's not very hard for us. So I want to talk about the reality. So what is now the situation between road and rail, and also give you some examples. So I have only 3 slides with me, only numbers, that I can see what is the difference really. And we are here as the critical voice, because we are always the last one in the food chain. But we are not the last one, because we are an area of services and we have a new thinking of terminals. And that is what I'm wanting to tell you today. Because we see that we are a very important area, because we have services on the one hand side, and on the other hand side, you know, every train has a delay now. And we are compensating delays. And that's very important for the supply chain. So that is what I want to talk today. Only 3 slides with 3 numbers. First slide is delay, as I said before. This is the delay time from last week in our terminal. And this delay time would be much higher. There would be around, I would say, 7,000 minutes if we do not have a terminal in between. So that means we compensate 30 to 40% of these delays in the current situation, because we have 90 trains per week. And so if you make a calculation, then you see that 50 minutes per train. That's a huge number, a very huge number. We have no delays on the streets. We have 700 trucks per day coming in our terminal with no delays. So it's a little bit of a problem. And it's also the problem that you say with looking out the window, yes, the train is coming. No. I need transparency, and I need transparency for free. That means I need all the information from the railway undertakings, from the operators, and I need it for free. That is what we want, and then it's very easy to make a very good terminal management, and in the end, you get time back. That is what we can offer to you. Time back, saves money, you have more satisfaction at your customers. Second number, it's also a high one. 7,800 sheets of papers. We have 90 trains, and we have many trains from Germany, and every train driver has hundreds of sheets in his locomotive. And he gave all the sheets to us, and we said, thank you very much, but we don't need it. We put it in the corner and said, thank you. For the trucks, we had 700 trucks per day in our terminal. We had a full digitalization in our terminal. That means we had a photo gate, very easy. To see the vehicle number on the truck, we identify the number of the container. We know everything. Very easy. One day in advance, we get the information which container he wants to get with the truck. So we don't need papers. We had only a QR code on the mobile device. He don't have to speak with someone. He goes to a machine, make beep, and then he gets 1 paper back, 1 sheet of paper. And this paper is only that he do not forget where the container is. Because if he goes in his truck, then he know, maybe not where the container is. So it's very easy. So sometimes train is very stone age. Let's say it that way. I'm from the new generation, so I can say this. So yeah, sometimes we have to rethink some things. And last one, it's not so high. 30,140 pictures. These are the pictures that we made for our, with our photo gate from every container. So that means we have line scans, we have photos. It's not very expensive, because we talk about money also. It's not expensive to make a digitalization in the terminal. It costs around 200,000 euros, and then you have everything you need. Software, hardware, and then you can push and push more and more. You can do the same on the train. It's not very hard to do that. So from our point of view, we say we are standing here for a new generation of terminals because we are an area bringing you time back, bringing you money back in the end, and we say need and use the existing technologies on the market. We're also talking about, there was a headline 2 weeks ago that we use Google Glasses. Yeah, very easy. Google Glass, you can buy it on the market, you put a software in it, and then, yeah, our checkers will be faster than before because you have the hands-free. Very easy solution. So why don't do this, use these technologies also in the railway business? It's very easy. And we see that in the road. It's going faster and faster and faster. We have 25 languages on the road. Yeah, that's not a problem. We have no language in the trains, that's the problem. So what we say is using existing technologies, bringing more transparency to the train, then it will be faster, and don't see a terminal as the last step in the food chain, because we're bringing you so much back. And if you rethink a terminal, call it hub or call it whatever, turntable or whatever, we are very high on information because we get any information from the railway undertaking, from the operators, from the forwarders. We know everything about your cargo business. We know everything about your goods. So use this, and then you get much more better than the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So last but not least, we would like to hear Mr. Evgeny Charkin. He is, as I said before, Deputy CEO of Russian Railways and also CIO, simply CIO. But this is not only simply, I think. And what we would like to understand, Mr. Charkin, you are an IT expert, and you went to a railway 4 years ago. And my first question is, how is it like when IT meets railway? Is it an easy way, or is it maybe a challenge for both sides?
When IT meets railway and the money, it's pure love. Actually, we are having, although we were not mentioned in the list of Mr. Kapsch, of the companies that are doing digital transformation, we are doing digital transformation. It's a very big program, and for us it's not the fashion, it's the new way of we are doing things. And we consider digital to be the source of our competitive advantage in the long term. You know, when I worked for steel and mining, and we had several ideas about the digital IT and all this stuff. This CEO of the company told me, Evgeny, come on, I'll go with the loudspeaker to the edge of the plant and make a command to increase the productivity on 10%. And they will do it. And he's absolutely right. There is no need to make any digital if you want to have 10% of increase of productivity. But then it comes to percents, and then to the even smaller portions of percent. And in this case, there's nothing you can do without digital. Big button, okay. So actually, digital transformation covers almost all sectors of our business. We start from the customer experience, and we have two big projects in this area. Passenger side, we are doing a project called Innovative Mobility, and we have a dedicated company which is doing that. Innovative Mobility is the new digital platform for our passengers. It's multimodal. It's mobile, and it works on board of the train and on all our infrastructure and almost out of our infrastructure. And the biggest focus here is data. We want our data to be monetized by us. And if we talk about passengers, we're talking about 1.1 something billion people traveling on our infrastructure. So we want this this data to work for us. If we talk about freight side, we're making electronic platform which is called electronic platform for freight customers. I will make a few comments further. And of course, we're not forgetting about internal processes, and main focus here is to move from post-mortem management to predictive management in infrastructure management, in rolling stock management, and even in people management. So we are heavily implementing AI projects, we are heavily implementing blockchain projects, and I will mention further. And of course, we need a good infrastructure for that. So we are doing a very big program of implementation of IoT platform in Russian railways. And the trick here is not only Russian railways, but it's the whole transport system of Russian Federation. So we're working with the automotive industry. We're working with all sectors of transport in Russia. And the biggest focus on digital, not biggest, but big focus is to move from system implementation to platform implementation, to the platform approach. And our principle here is the following. We want the platform to be owned by us, Russian Railways, but it's open and it's free for other participants of the market to join us and to make their services on our platform, using our technology. That's the principle of our approach. A few words about electronic trading platform Freight Traffic. We started this project something ago, and the project is doing well. We have more than 3,200 customers working on the platform, and the principle is simple. You log in to the site, and you can order delivery. And now it's only our basic service, so railway delivery. But during this year, we will add automotive, we will add warehousing, and we will add additional services like insurance, like financial services, and it will be done using our partners, and that's the very good example of our platform approach. So yes, we're making the platform, we're making the basic service, but we are attracting partners that are making their service on top of our platform. And why it's important here? Because we want this platform to work also on transit, freight delivery, and we invite our partners, all of you, to join our platform and to add your services on this platform. It's definitely the win-win situation for all of us. Two major advantages of this platform. First is speed, because on the traditional approach of working with the customers, it was days of communication on the phone with the customers, and now it's minutes for the customer to connect to Russian Railways and to order the delivery. But we should not forget the advantage for our customers, especially big customers, because simplicity of this tool allow them to optimize their staff working with the planning and monitoring their deliveries, because they have the tool. Very simple and good. So it's also the potential for them to reduce their costs. Several words about blockchain. It's another platform that we're implementing, and a few words about two projects in this area. First one is the pilots that we're making, and we will accomplish the pilot project in the middle of this year. And the blockchain platform should connect our customer, Russian Railways, and the port. So the biggest benefits for the customer is speed, once again, because we reduce more than twice the time of transfer of the cargo from railway to the port, because all exchange of the documents is minutes, not hours, no paper, nothing. It's transparent and safe. So the first train will go using this platform in June this year. And once again, this platform is open. So we consider after we accomplish the pilot, we will definitely implement on other sectors, segments of our business, and we invite partners to join us. Because definitely we do not want to be in silo. We want to have the platform open to the ecosystem. And of course, we're looking for integration with other private and public blockchain platforms and in European Union and in other regions to join and to integrate the platform we are implementing. A few words about what we're doing with the rolling stock. So it's a smart locomotive based on the Internet of Things, based on artificial intelligence tools. Digital depot, we want to know everything that is happening in the depot. And we are building the trusted locomotive environment together with the vendors, manufacturers of locomotives, together with our service partners. So all information is equal for everyone, it's transparent, and it's safe. And of course, we're working not only for us, we're working for the whole industry in Russia and for the partners outside Russia, and several critical areas of focus. So verification of the data, very important. And the ownership of the data is very important. The openness of the technology is very important. And once again, we want to build the platforms that are open for the market. And we are building the ecosystem based on our technologies. And of course, effective financial model to cover the costs. There was a section before us, where to get the money. And the question is still on board. And a few words about biggest challenges. Challenge number one, the biggest challenge is the culture and the people, because it's huge cultural shift during the digital transformation. And we need, there are 700,000 people working in our company and more than 1 million people working in the holding. So we need a very huge cultural shift program we're working on. And challenge number two is security, of course, that was mentioned. And we are heavily working on the cyber security. We have a big program, big investment in this area. And people here is also the challenge. Because the bad guys are hardly working on their technologies and they're also getting smarter. So we need to be smarter than these bad guys. So it's also very big education and training. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We learned a lot. Now I would like, first thing what I understood is, yes, there is a huge challenge, but there are also many good ideas, and there is a need of open platforms, open information. There is a need of a new thinking. There is a need of a thinking not only in the own branch, but also left and right. And we have to overcome papers. That's very important from my point of view. I would like to hear, in the end, from every speaker, just 3 words. The 3 words, what are, from your point of view, the most important innovations for railways within the next 10 years? Please, Mr. Kapsch, would you like to start?
Just 3 words. There are many possible solutions. No, I mean, we have seen many examples now, and for sure there is a very, very long list of things what the railways can do. So a tremendous field where we all together have to act. And the question is always, who is paying for that? That's always a question. I think we have enough capabilities to finance projects like this in Middle and Western Europe. Also in China we see that there is much money available for things like that. There are other regions like Africa where financing is not so easy, but also there we will find somewhere in the future ways.
Thank you.
Okay, 3 words, 3 projects, I would say 3 innovations, 3 points to stress on. First one is development of signaling and telecommunication in ones through the FRMCS program coordination. Second is could be blockchain, integration blockchain in rail processes as a linking program, linking project from north to south, east, west. Very structural. And third one is could be automation of train operation. And one way, one method is scalability.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, transversal thinking, collaborative platform, and the corresponding registers.
Thank you.
It's working.
Take the other one, please.
Quantum computing, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain.
Transparency, culture, and culture.
Thank you very much. So here, it's not only a technical thing, it's also a human thing. And it's human business, and let's work on it. Thank you very much for your nice discussion. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.